starting lineup of your favorite show. At producer, 5'11" from Blanchester, the Cow Killer, Casey McCollister. And comic engineer, standing at 4'8", the pride of the West Side, Elliot Rearing. And your host, weighing 150 pounds, soaking wet, from Hamilton, Ohio, Ace Fowler.
Well, yo, hello and welcome in to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. It's my final show. Last 2 weeks, I've been holding down the fort when I can. Obviously, Tom has filled in the last 2 Fridays, but I've had a lot of fun doing this, and I get 2 more hours with you guys. So let's make the most of it. We got a lot to talk about today. Obviously, all the news, the tournament selection, everyone's up in arms about how bad the committee got the tournament, and I agree with them. I don't have as much knowledge about the college basketball season this year as I've done other years. Responsibilities in life, responsibilities in work has taken my eyes off of college basketball quite a bit this year. But we'll get into that. We'll get into the Reds injuries. There was a big hit, obviously, TJ Friedel. We'll have Nick Kirby on at 10:30. And I think everyone's kind of losing their minds when it comes to what's going on in this Bengals offseason. We'll get to all that today. But first off, let's talk about the more important things in the world. You know, through all the NFL talk, through the conference tournament in college basketball last year, you know what the number one topic on social media was last week? It was Love is Blind. It's the most popular show on Netflix. I watched it. Lindsay told me to watch it. She's also back. We'll get to her in a little bit. But here's the thing about Love is Blind. It's a super popular show, but in my opinion, love isn't blind. In fact, it turns out that attraction is a pretty big part of relationships. You know what is blind, though? Fandom. We often fall in love whoever the star is of your team, right? Joe Burrow, Ellie De La Cruz, formerly Joey Votto, formerly Joe Mixon. And when those players leave, we feel hurt. We feel betrayed. It sucks. It does. I get it. Trust me, I get it. That part does remind you of what a relationship is, right? It's similar to a relationship between 2 spouses, a fan and its team. And when breakups happen, it can be nasty. It can eat like a ton of bricks. But here's the thing about fandom is, at the end of the day, and I truly believe this, it doesn't matter who's wearing that jersey, as long as one thing, as long as they play well. You might be thinking, oh, what are you talking about, Reid? We love players for who they are. I get it. You can fall in love with the kind of the mold of the person. Andy Dalton, I mean, for the longest time, all we would talk about is he's a great guy. How good of a guy is Andy Dalton, despite, lackluster play on the field at times? We here in Cincinnati, we love Barry Larkin. Not so much on the broadcast. He was a Hall of Fame shortstop. Still talk about him to this day. Face of the franchise for 2 decades. But we miss him in this city. And you know why? It's because the team, the Cincinnati Reds, haven't had anybody close to fill that gap since he's been gone since 2004. You guys, Reid. We love Barry Larkin because he was a great player. We love our players because they're great players. We hold on to them. But hold on. Think about the Bengals. Who was the face of the franchise in the 2000s? Chad Johnson, Chad Ochocinco. In the news all the time, was fun, scoring touchdowns, thought maybe one day he'd get in the Hall of Fame, came up all-pro wide receiver. When he's leaving, did we lament it? Oh no, how are we going to replace Chad Johnson? And then you get A.J. Green and you kind of forget. You still have a place in your heart for Chad Johnson, but you move on. You don't talk about Chad Johnson a whole lot because you get A.J. Green. A.J. Green's the star for a decade. Oh, man, we got A.J. Green. It's the end of his career. It's coming to the end of his time. And what happened? What are we going to do without A.J. Green? We get T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. As much as you want to tell yourself that the players matter and all this stuff, all that matters is the next guy up. Who's going to replace those roles? So that takes me to this iteration of the Bengals. Some people are still lamenting Zach Moss over Joe Mixon. Trust me, you'll forget about Joe Mixon the second Zach Moss rips off a 50-yard touchdown. What about DJ Reader? This offseason is cooked because we didn't get DJ Reader. All it takes is another nose tackle to fill the gaps. And I know that's the hard part, is finding someone of his caliber. But I'll get into this later in the show. I'm not going to go off the deep end about this Bengals offseason because we didn't re-sign DJ Reader. The day before that, let Duke cook. Duke Tobin's the man. What? Then we didn't get DJ Reader. This offseason's terrible. And I get fans are fickle. It's part of the game. I'm just asking you to be a little more thought-provoking, to be a little bit more well-rounded. Here's the thing, is that love isn't blind. Fandoms are. Whoever puts on that jersey, as long as they play well, you'll be okay. Casey, we welcome you in here. I'm sure I got murdered in the chat for that one. But Casey, welcome in. Lindsay. Lindsay's back, fresh from her vacation. Lindsay, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing great. Looks like you got some sun down there at Marco Island.
Yes, I did. It was a bad burn. I underestimated the sun on the first day, and I had this really bad burn on my face, my thighs, and my arms, but luckily
Didn't put sunscreen on the first day.
It was like 60 degrees. I didn't really think I'd get sun, but it's okay. I'm tan now.
Rookie mistake.
Really was.
Casey, how are you?
I'm doing good, Reid. I'm doing good.
That's good.
Matching twinsies.
Yeah, we look good. We look good
on
the
today.
final show. The final show, just us two. Look at us. Ragtag group, Casey and Reid.
Great minds think alike, I should say. Yeah, I mean,
We'll get to your rundown here in a second.
Yeah,
Any thoughts on what I said? Well, we can get to it in the second hour, though.
Well,
if you want to simmer on it.
I won't lie. I was more distracted with the chat. And let me tell you, pink lemonade in Skyline is the way to go.
Oh, it's gone. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
the Skyline.
It's now Coca-Cola. That's a horrible decision, really.
Well, here's the thing about the Coke going to Skyline is that fits brand. That does. When I think of brands that people are irrationally get mad about, I think of Skyline and Coke. You tell someone that drinks a lot of Coke that you like Pepsi, they lose their ever-loving mind. Tell someone that eats Skyline, that loves Skyline, tell them you like Gold Star, they lose their ever-loving mind. So I'm glad that that's a match made in heaven, and now you don't get your Mountain Dew on Skyline. Good for you. Not only is Skyline cursing all the teams in this city, now they're taking away Mountain Dew. Mountain Dew? Gold Star on the rise.
I have to agree with that, too. I have to agree. I think, honestly, the whole debate about Skyline and Gold Star is lame, but, I mean, this is another point for Gold Star. 100% Reid.
Listen, they didn't need help winning this battle, but they were given it. They were given it. I take all this back. We will take this back if Skyline ever sponsors us someday. All right, before we get to the rundown, Casey, I just want to say thank you as we go into these final hour and 50 minutes of just us two. You know, the numbers unprecedented, the highest rated shows, I believe, outside of football season and off the bench history. Right here, me and Casey. A little bit of Lindsay over there. But me and Casey, right here.
Yeah.
I would say more of Lindsay, but she was in Marco Island last week, so she was on vacation like the rest of the squad.
She was here for half the time.
Yeah. The videos that were posted out, doing great too.
Yeah, I mean, we're just on a roll, to be honest with you. I mean, we couldn't be any hotter. And it's all thanks to you guys in the chat. Yeah. We appreciate you as well. I do appreciate you thanking me, Reid. That means a lot. But it's mainly you guys in the chat that make that possible. And we appreciate it. When we were understaffed to do what we do on a day-to-day basis, we did our best, and you guys really supported us. So we appreciate that.
All right. Casey, get us through the rundown.
Yeah, let's start with the March Madness because that's what everyone's talking about right now, I'm sure. only 3 teams made it to the Big East. That is a
From the
shock.
Big East. Yep.
And 6 teams from the Mountain West.
Yeah.
That's a huh.
I got on Twitter and I got on a space of a bunch of Xavier fans. Paul Fritcher, Paulie Fricano, Paulie Fish Sticks, Quitter Paul, whatever you want to call him. I just like calling him Paul. He was holding a space and he was laying it out. I literally did not stop moving yesterday from the time that I went out to Miami to do the baseball game. I came home, did some work around the house, cut grass, cooked, did all this stuff. I did not sit down till like 9 o'clock. So I was literally catching up on who made the tournament, who didn't make the tournament. I got all the text, but I didn't read them, admittedly, about teams like Virginia makes it, which is like just crazy. The thing about Virginia making it to the first is, and Paul brought this up last night in that space, is like typically these first 4, they're trying to sell tickets, right? When we talk about how they kind of rig the NCAA tournament sometimes, the one thing that we can all agree on is when it comes to Dayton, the first 4, they try to sell tickets. And how did they decide they were going to sell tickets? They were going to put in a team that is quite literally the worst watch in college basketball. The total for Virginia's game is 120. That's how they're going to sell tickets. Good grief. Yeah, there's a lot of, like Dayton, I don't think has a single win against the field. Duquesne, who won the A-10. But like Dayton was a 7 seed.
Yeah, that's wild.
It's there was a bunch of bid thieves. I was very out of touch with college basketball this year. It was funny. For like the first time in my life, like normally there's like a few discrepancies between what the public thinks and what the committee does. It seemed like the laundry list of teams that should have made it and shouldn't made it was miles long. So we actually will bring on Nick Kirby, who's a basketball fan too. He's a pretty big college basketball guy, and we'll pick his brain at the end of that interview about that stuff.
The Dayton thing is very confusing to me because their fans were thinking like they might get to play in the first of 4 or whatever, the Dayton play-ins, and they didn't even sniff that. They're a 7 seed.
Right.
It's
I think
wild.
they play Nevada, and I heard someone say like they're a 7-10 seed. You could literally switch those seeds, and like no one would know. Yeah, Dayton's best wins are St. John's and UC, who aren't in the tournament. Those aren't tournament teams. That's their best wins. They finished 3rd in the wild. It's I brought up this last week about Michigan State. I kind of have a fandom. This kid who I went to college with is a diehard Indiana fan. And he kind of got me to start liking Indiana just like through osmosis. And when you stacked up Michigan State and Indiana's resume, it's the exact same. Same record, same conference record, same quad 1, same quad 2 wins, like identical. And one team is in the tournament pretty safely. I think Michigan State's an 8 seed. And Indiana wasn't even on the gosh darn radar. Not even a blip, just circling around the sonar, beep, beep, and there's no Hoosiers, there's no Martha the Mop Lady coming anywhere near the NCAA tournament, which was crazy. I didn't get the Michigan State stuff. I guess having a big name helps sometimes.
Yeah. Speaking of the big names, we have our first seeds, UConn, Houston, Purdue, and North Carolina. You have written down here for me to ask, would you take the ones? Would you take the field?
So I, last year, asked this question 20 times. You taking the ones? You taking the field? And I thought, I'd take the ones. Give me the ones. I don't think a single one made the Final Four last year. Obviously, Purdue lost in the first round. Wasn't a good year for the ones. I'm doubling down. Give me the ones. Give me UConn to run it back. Give me Houston to win it all. Maybe you get a team. Maybe Purdue finally makes it to the Final Four in the national championship. Give me the ones over the field. What would you take? Would you take, if it's even money, you get 60 teams, 64 teams, or you get 4?
Listen, I think UConn's a wagon. I also don't think Purdue is going to be one and done again, like for the third
They're not
time.
gonna lose
like,
their first game. They're not gonna lose their second game.
Yeah, like I feel like there's a better chance that they do better this year, right? I mean, you can't possibly do that so many times in a row. Like you just can't keep getting away with it, right? Like it just doesn't make sense. So I will take the ones, and I'll feel comfortable doing that.
All right. It's probably a bad bet, but yeah, I'll take the ones here too. The thing about Purdue, I've said this for a while. I think Trace did this with the Cowboys this year when it came to the NFL tournament or NFL playoffs. Is at some point you got to think they get over the hump. right? With Purdue, they've been a good team now for 3 years, and they always get bounced early. And you're just like, whoa, what? Eventually, you got to think that Zach Edey and the Boilermakers can make a decent run at this thing. I don't know how deep it is, right? But I feel very confident that they'll make it to at least their region's championship, so the Elite Eight. I feel very confident about that. And it's literally just I'm looking at a roulette wheel, and it's like 26 straight blacks, and I'm putting money on red because at some point red's got to hit. That's the only opinion that I have about that. Is it's just they're too good to not make a running to get bounced early again. So that's beside the point. Casey?
Yeah, and speaking of, sorry, actually not speaking of, NIT. Let's go to there. Let's go jump to the
All
NIT.
right.
Xavier, UC, and Ohio State all make it.
That's true.
Some of the local teams around here.
Yeah, I am surprised. I know Tom brought this up in the earlier show. Tom divulged a little bit of information, a little tidbit, some insider trading, some inside baseball. He said, yeah, if Xavier gets asked to be in the NIT, they're not gonna go. And so I just took that as Bible. I just took it as a matter of fact, as law. Put it on the stones, the 10 Commandments. Like, Xavier's not playing in the NIT. I like to won it 2 years ago. I like to defend that. Add to the banners. The banners on the Parkway, baby. But yeah, then it turns out they are playing. They're gonna play Georgia tomorrow, and there's a couple storylines there. I think the biggest one is that Xavier has a streak of being over 500 at risk. They've had one under 500 season in the last 40 years. So if they win a couple games in the NIT, they can get back to at least 500. So that's one story. Quincy Oliveri could be the all-time three-point guy for the Muskies. So, yeah, it's interesting. I think UC's got a good draw. I think Ohio State's playing well. It could be interesting here in the Buckeye State.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I also think, too, it would be really cool to see Xavier versus UC at some point. So I don't think we talked about it on –
That'd be the championship.
Yeah, we talked about that being a championship run. I don't think it's not possible. It's not impossible, but –
They're playing up in Indy at Hinkle Fieldhouse, I believe. That's what I saw the tournament brackets say. So UC versus Xavier at Hinkle for the National Invitational Tournament Championship. Bible it.
Speaking of Ohio State, Jake Diebler.
Yeah, the Deebs.
He gets the full-time gig at Ohio State, and I think deservedly so. I mean, he won 7 out of the last 9. That's pretty damn good.
I think I'm in a different camp when it comes to interim coaches becoming head coaches. Maybe it's the wrong opinion because, like, at that point, what is it an audition or not, being an interim head coach? Sometimes you just have them in there to fill the gap. But I don't know. I would, just being completely ignorant here, has an interim coach that turned into the full-time coach worked out? Like, I truly don't know. In any sport, like, put it in the chat right now. Is there an interim coach that got the head full-time job and it was soared? Because I don't know. That's just me being ignorant at the moment. But I know that when you're a big program like Ohio State, you can pull some guys. I know the basketball program isn't what the football program is, but it's still Ohio State. That you had the opportunity to get some mid-major coaches that have been very successful. So, we'll see it happen. Congratulations to Jake Diebler. I like to bring up that he's from Upper Sandusky, which is an hour south of Sandusky. It's Ohio geography for you.
Yeah. Moving on to Reds conversation, because there was a lot of bad news, I guess, to say the least, about the Reds. Lots of injuries. TJ Friedel fractured his wrist on a fly ball.
Yep. Yep. It's we'll talk with Kirby about this. There's some uncomfortable, I think, Reds injury news. You know, the injury bug bit the Reds last year, and any team, you play 162 games, guys. You're gonna have injuries. The best you can hope for is to minimize them. The Reds haven't had that luxury. They've had a bunch of injuries over the past 2 years. Some of it's youth. You'd think youth would play into that. You wouldn't get hurt as much, but it is what it is. They're going to be without TJ Friedel. A lot of talk about the Bengals gets brought up about how they always start slow. The Reds, they haven't been very good other than last year. they tend to start slow as well. And as we saw last year, every game does matter. It doesn't feel like it does because you play so many of them. But at the end of the year, when a game or two separates who makes the postseason and who doesn't, you got to have your best foot forward always. So it's be interesting. We're going to talk with Kirby about how they fill the gap without TJ Friedel.
Yeah, and not only that, they also have Brandon Williamson left with shoulder soreness.
I haven't seen anything about this. I haven't seen anything too much. I mean, this could be a nothing burger. I just saw someone tweet out that he left yesterday's game because his shoulder was sore. The pitching staff, the starters, they've got enough guys there that can make it work. So, as always, we'll see. And like I mentioned, in about 10 minutes, we'll be talking with Nick Kirby about the Cincinnati Reds and all the things. Also, we get an update from the road trip. All the boys got back. There was just yesterday. So I have my truck. There's a work truck that has equipment in it. And I come in. I don't remember the exact time. But I come in, switch out the truck because I'm driving up to Oxford. I got to go do the Miami baseball game. And 4 minutes. I live right across the river, like a 5-minute drive. About 4 minutes after I leave the parking lot, I get a text from Spur in our group chat and said the boys just got home. And I said, what? What are you talking about? They drove 27 hours straight from Arizona to Cincinnati to get back yesterday late afternoon or early afternoon, late morning. And Spur's like, what? I was literally just in the parking lot, so they had to pull in right after me. And yeah, they got back. So we've been talking with Elliot, and we've been talking with Trace. They'll be back tomorrow. The show will be given back to them, open arms. So they'll tell you about all their endeavors, all the fun stuff that happened on the road trip, and like I mentioned, we'll talk with Kirby. I can't believe that they went 27 hours on a trip. Are we okay? The camera keeps freezing up on the TV screen.
Yeah, it's doing that thing again where I would need to restart the entire system here in order to quit it from doing that. So we're kind of just stuck with it until.
All right. At the top of the chat, Sean Spurlock, Boss Sean, put in a link for our bracket challenge. So if you want to join in, have some fun, we'll be doing a little bracket challenge for this NCAA tournament. I don't think I've ever won a bracket challenge. I don't think I've ever come close. And that's probably because I'm fairly ignorant when it comes to college basketball. So that's neither here nor there. The TJ Friedel news is a bit alarming, but luckily, in Casey, go ahead and show this tweet. I saw Reds and Ford tweet this out. Currently projected to be without TJ Friedel. Obviously, Noel V. Marte, Nick Ladola, Ian Jabot, Alex Young, maybe Sam Mole, and Nick Martinez on opening day. The Reds have done their best. I truly believe this. And once again, I say this as a caveat to you guys. You guys know who I root for. I'm trying to do this without having that affect my opinion on the Cincinnati Reds. Trying to tiptoe around it. But I'm going to acknowledge it. And feel free to call me out if you ever see the bias showing through when I talk about the Reds. That's fine. That's okay. But I think they've done a nice job at getting as much talent in the building as possible with their salary, with how much money they're able to spend, with how much youth that they have. They have as much talent as I've seen the Reds go into a season for quite some time. They've got some injuries. Obviously, the Noel V. Marte, TJ Friedel, they lost a couple starters now. It's going to be interesting. It really is. And the Reds desperately need to start off well. Even last year, they didn't start off well. It took a 12-game win streak in June to get them back into contention. It took, a red-hot third month to get the Reds even, thought of again in the playoffs. So, yeah, every game matters. People can say that, and you'll forget it. We'll all forget it, that every game truly does matter. Sometimes you get so mad when you see the Sunday lineup going out there, and you're like, this is what we're doing on a Sunday? Getaway day? Backup catcher, throwing an opener, two other guys that normally don't start are in the lineup, and you're like, God, guys, we need to win this game. And then you get to the end of the year, and you're on the outside looking in of the playoffs, and you missed it by a game or two. Those things start to sting, but it's a long season, so It is what it is. Is Kirby ready to roll?
He is ready.
All right.
If you want to jump to him.
Yeah, let's go ahead and jump in on our main man as I put on my earmuffs. Our main man, Nick Kirby. Curbs, how are you, big guy? It's nice to see that lovely face.
What's up, Reid? Casey, how we doing, fellas?
Doing well. Doing well. How was the trip? How was the trip? People want to know. How was the trip?
It was good. It felt like we left like 3 months ago almost at this point. Yeah, I was just talking to my wife when I got back. It's just so many. I was like going through like what we did, and I was like, oh yeah, we also did this, and then we also did this. It was just so many just incredible things, like bucket list items. But it is good to be back home, though. It was last couple of days. It was kind of like, yeah, it's time to get back home and be a dad again.
Yeah, I don't know how you feel, but if I'm ever gone for home, I love traveling. I love going on trips. But if I'm ever gone for longer than a week, I'm like, just get me home. Just get me home. Yeah. And I'm sure with a wife and kids, that is only amplified.
Yeah, I've never been away from my kids for more than like 3 days. So like 2 weeks was quite an adjustment. But yeah, it was nice to be back home, sleeping in my bed, and kind of getting back in the groove. Now, going from Mountain at this time of the year when it's like 3 hours behind the Eastern, that's a little bit of an adjustment. So still adjusting back, but that 7 a.m. wake-up call to get the kid on the bus this morning, kind of trial by fire this morning.
Hey, that's all right. The final question I'll ask you before we get diving into the Reds, what was the highlight of the trip? You said you did all these bucket list items. What was the most amazing thing you did on the 2 weeks in the van?
All right, I'm going to give you 2 answers. Is that okay?
Okay, that's fine.
All right.
I mean, just cheat.
So the highlight was
sure.
Okay, so I'm not cheating because let me answer it. All right, the highlight was the Grand Canyon. That was just incredible. I thought it was going to be cool, but like the cliche, you have to go. Like this is something, if you've wanted to go, you have to go. You have to see it. It's incredible in person. And then I'm going to say the most underrated stop of the trip was the Colorado Avalanche game. That was awesome. It was an electric atmosphere. It was a national TV game. They played the Red Wings. I didn't realize the Red Wings had like such a crazy NHL following as they do. So there was a lot of fans. There was a lot of like kind of like fun banter going back and forth. So the Colorado Avalanche was by far like maybe the most underrated. The one that I was expecting to be great, but really was.
Yeah, I've been to one NHL match, and is it a game or match? Hockey. It's a hockey game. Regardless, it's an incredible. It really is. It's a great spectator sport. You watch for 20 minutes. You get an intermission. You lock back in 20 minutes of actions. It's a lot of fun. All right, let's talk Turkey. TJ Friedl gonna miss a month. Starting center fielder for the Cincinnati Reds. What does this mean for the Reds going into opening day?
Yeah, this is probably the one that hurts the most, just because the Reds don't have the depth in center field. I don't think offensively the Reds are going to take that big of a hit. I think if they're playing Benson and Fairchild, they're platooning them or some sort of combination like that, they're not going to miss a whole lot offensively, but defensively, it's a huge loss. TJ Friedl was a well above average defender in center field. And the Reds as a whole were a really, really bad defensive team last year, and that's kind of been one of their big issues the last several years. Something I've definitely mentioned a lot as I think a silent killer for the Reds. So you were kind of banking on this year. You had up the middle, you had Ellie and McLean, and then you had Friedl in center field. And you kind of hope that you could fill the rest of the pieces around it and be okay enough to get by. But when you missing TJ Friedl in his defense in center field, it's going to be tough. Now, I did say on the podcast this morning, if you want to be really optimistic, the Reds' like first 8 series, I think 5 or 6 of them are at home, and one of them's in Philadelphia, which isn't a big ballpark. So maybe you can kind of get by with it. It might be somewhat of a decent time, to get by defensively, but it's a huge loss for the Reds.
Yeah, and that's not the only loss that they've had recently. While you guys were on the trip, obviously the news broke out about Noelvi Marte. So this means that 2 guys that you kind of penciled in as maybe not everyday starters, but the majority of the time, but for all intents and purposes, guys that you expected to be a part of this success this season, they're not going to be here to start the year. Noelvi, and Friedel, how does the team kind of navigate these waters? Because they did a nice job at adding. I feel like having enough talent went around there. How do they navigate these waters going forward, missing not one but two would-be starters?
Noelle Marte, the injury, I think it definitely takes the Reds' ceiling down. I think the Reds are built more to withstand a Noelle Marte suspension than the Friedel injury. Xavier Candelario's had a really brutal spring. I think he's hitting 080. He's like 2 for 25. But
You're
how much do you put? How much stock do you put into these spring training numbers? I don't know, but I think you slide him at third base, and you might not be losing that much. In fact, there was a chance Noelle Marte would kind of have a sophomore slump. He kind of performed really well at the end of last year. So I think that one's not necessarily as big of a loss as Friedel. I think you can get by with that. The starting pitching, I'm not as concerned about that. I don't think Nick Lodolo is going to be out very long. Actually, did get to see him pitch on Saturday. Looked really sharp up until the last two batters that he faced. He walked. So I think maybe there was a little bit of fatigue there. So it might take him a little bit of time to build back up. But early on, he looked as good as he's ever looked. So I do think the Reds are okay pitching wise. I know I saw that tweet you put up. Sam Moll is actually scheduled to pitch today.
That's good.
So, and they're saying that he's going to be ready for opening day. Nick Martinez threw a simulated game or backfield game or something yesterday and was fine. They say that he should be okay. I don't know about his misplaced ribs. I don't know how that works, but they're saying that those guys are okay as of now.
Yeah, and with a team that under the David Bell administration hasn't started well, right? I think that's more than fair to say that, throughout David Bell's tenure, April hasn't been very kind to the Reds. And in a division that's, there's a lot of competition in a National League that, the Reds missed by 2 games last year, so every game does matter. Should fans be worried about these injuries and these losses that are going to kind of plague the Reds to begin the year?
Well, yeah, I mean, the Reds, it's pretty important they get off to a good start because they do have, obviously, they started the season with the Nationals. They got the White Sox. They have the Angels all coming up. But then once you kind of get past those first several series, you're going to face teams that you're expecting to be contender after contender for I think almost like a 6-week stretch. So
wow.
I think it's the first 20 or 22 games. That's the games that the Reds need to, I think, at least be 500. I don't think the Reds need to go, on some crazy, you have to start 12-8 or you're screwed. I mean, I think you play close to 500, you can survive. But if you start, 7-13 or something like that, you could really find yourself digging a hole early this season. So the schedule, it's favorable for the Reds early, but they're going to have to capitalize on that.
Yeah, as we keep talking about all the things with the Cincinnati Reds, I brought up this take last week, and I got buried. They told me I was just the biggest dummy that's ever dummied. I think that with Noelle Marte, we talked about TJ Friedel, and we're going to get into this suspension here now. He misses the first half of the year because of the suspension. Can't play in the postseason. Do you anticipate that the Reds will play Noelle Marte? Because I know that's, it makes sense to play him if it makes the team better, but if he's not going to be a part of postseason plans, kind of what's the point? Do you anticipate that Noelle Marte will play when he comes back from his suspension?
Just depends on how everyone else is doing. I mean, if Jeimer Candelario's having a great year and Ellie and McLean are healthy, then he might have a hard time, getting playing time. I don't think the Reds are going to leave him down in AAA. There's not really any benefit because the Reds are already going to gain an extra year of service time because of how long he's going to be out. And then with him coming up last year, you're not going to gain an extra year of service time by keeping him down. So there's really no point unless you just want to punish the kid, which I don't see why you'd really want to do that.
Sure.
So it's really, I think it might be a cheap answer, but it's really just going to, I think, depend on how everyone else is playing around him. I think he will be on the team, but is he playing every day? It just depends on if they're desperate enough to need him or not.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting development in July, just based off where the Reds are, based on how people are playing, and you kind of get back. It almost feels like a mid-season acquisition where you're getting hey, we're going to get this young guy in. That's going to be great, and that's a spin that you could look at it differently. That's going to be interesting to say. All right, Kirby, enough Reds talk. You're a big Hoops fan. What was your opinion? Because everyone's got one on what happened with Selection Sunday. What was your opinion on overall how the committee did with the tournament?
Well, I think the Mountain West was drastically underseeded. I think they deserved a little bit more respect. That was probably my biggest takeaway. To be honest, I love the NCAA tournament. The last month I have not been able to follow college basketball crazy well. So like I was kind of like yesterday afternoon trying to see the bracketology and where everyone had anyone. So I don't have any like hot takes because I just haven't really kept up that much. But the NCAA tournament, it's the best time of the year. I can't wait for this tournament to get started. You want me to give you 2 games that I really like?
I would love for you to give me 2 games that you're excited about in the first round of the tournament.
All right, so I love both of the WCC teams. St. Mary's against Grand Canyon and Gonzaga against McNeese. I think those are two Grand Canyon and McNeese are two of the best mid-majors. They have a lot of transfers that are high major type players. So I think both of those teams are on upset. I know there's a lot of people that were upset about St. Mary's and Gonzaga's seeding compared to some of the other teams. Thought maybe they kind of got a little bit too much of a boost. So that'll kind of be another fun little storyline to follow. To both of those teams get upset because I think both of those teams they got good seeds, but they got really brutal first round matchups.
Yeah, I heard Paul talking last night about McNeese, and he said he felt like they got a raw deal a little bit. I think they won 30 games this year, was one of the best mid-major teams, and to get to have to play a team that's been a wagon in the tournament over the past few years in Gonzaga and not playing like a typical like other power conference team. Do you think McNeese got a raw deal at all? I mean, that's an exciting game, but do you think they got a raw deal?
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard because Gonzaga, a lot of people thought they were going to be a 7 seed, so it may not be that raw of a deal. It might be a raw deal in name only. I actually got to see Gonzaga play in Las Vegas. I was the only one who went. No one went with me. They all left me hanging. But
who made more money?
I will say the Gonzaga fans, they're not high on this team. They were. I couldn't believe how down they were on their own team. So I'll say McNeese maybe didn't get a raw deal. They struggled with San Francisco. Like San Francisco had pretty much control of it was the semifinals I went to. They had control of the game up until like a minute before halftime, and then the wheels just completely – they got a technical foul, and the wheels just completely fell off for San Francisco, who I guess UC's playing, right? First game?
Yeah, it's going to be the first game in the NIT. Were you surprised as a Xavier guy? I don't know if I'm outing you on that one, but you are a Xavier fan. Were you surprised Xavier is playing in the NIT?
Yeah, I thought for sure they just take it off. I mean, I guess it's probably more for Quincy Oliveri than anything else. I mean, I guess that's like this feels like it should be the Quincy Oliveri celebration tour, right? As long as they can go, he deserves a chance to play in any sort of postseason. Other than that, I don't really have a whole lot of interest in it, if I'm being honest.
Right. When you decided, hey, I'm going to go to the San Francisco Gonzaga game, and everyone else wanted to gamble, I assume you put some money on that basketball game. Who ended up coming out on top? You going to one basketball game and betting on one basketball game, or all the guys that were on the strip spending their monies away, rolling dice and playing blackjack?
So funny thing is, I actually didn't get any money in on the game.
No!
Believe it or not, Vegas is the hardest place in the world to actually bet on your apps. Because like DraftKings isn't available, FanDuel's not available, and
you have
Nevada.
to do? Did you figure it out?
You have to go in person and do it.
Well, they have apps, but you have to be in the proximity of the sports book to bet on it. So like you have to be standing in the sports book to bet on it, which is crazy.
Well, so I was in Caesars, and Caesars told me that they have the sports book. You have to delete the app and then reinstall it because my app's set to Ohio, and so it was kind of just crazy. So yeah, I actually didn't get a bet in on it, but so I didn't lose any money, I guess.
Well, that's good. That's good. Well, Kirby, I thank you for coming on today. You know what? You deserve a Purple Heart for the 2-week trip that you went on there, being with the boys in the van. I'm sure it was a long and tired trip, but appreciate you coming on here on a Monday bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, talking about Cincinnati Reds.
Anytime, Reid. Appreciate you.
I do have to, but before I let you go, I got to address the elephant in the room. Was the autograph gate, was the Connor gate your cry for help that you wanted to be a Chicago Cubs fan? Was that what it was?
For sure. I mean, there's no question about it.
Okay.
They reel me back in though, so you're gonna have to hold off a little bit longer on getting me in blue. As good as I look in blue, let's not kid ourselves.
You
on
do
that,
look great
but,
in blue. You do look great in blue.
I do look great in blue, but you're gonna have to wait a little bit longer, buddy.
All right, Kirby. Thank you for hopping on. Thank you, man. All right, Nick Kirby gave us the 411 on the Cincinnati Reds. Yes, I don't know if enough people. We always talk about it with the Bengals for some reason. They got to start. They got to start well. Got to start well. Got to start well. I don't know if that conversation has been brought up about the Cincinnati Reds yet, and I think it's fair. I know they haven't been contenders a whole lot recently, but when you shoot yourself in the foot in April, you give yourself a hole to dig yourself out of. They missed the playoffs by 2 games last year. They got swept by the Pirates in April. 4-game sweep. I believe it was at home too. That can't happen. That simply cannot happen. But I perhaps have more optimism about the Reds than other teams in the division. Truly do. I think that the Brewers are kind of unraveling at the seams. I still am very high on the Pirates. I think because other people are sleeping on them. Obviously, I like my Cubs. I think they're the favorite to win, and I think they should win it. But there's also that Cardinals that just have that Steeler about them that they just can't. They don't go away. They do not die. Cardinals. I mean, they got 2 Hall of Famers on the corners. They got a bunch of veteran arms to anchor their rotation. Very old team, but I don't think it would surprise anybody if the Cardinals win the NL Central. I think Kirby said it best about 4 months ago, as he said, when you look at the National League Central, any team can win it, and you can see pretty much any team finishing in last place. And I agree with both those sentiments. Truly do. I can see any of those. Although, once again, bias here. I can't see the Cubs coming in last place. I think their floor is a lot higher than other teams. But that's neither here nor there. Here's what we're gonna do. We have a lot of Bengals stuff to get to. I have a few takes, a lot of NFL news. Justin Fields got traded for a 6th-round pick, a conditional 4th. We'll get into that, as I know you guys love when I talk about Justin Fields. But I'll give you my opinion on that. But first, we're gonna pay the bills. We're gonna have Casey do the ads. Casey's looking at me like he's got something. And then I've gotta know. There was so much news going around. Lindsay, the first week here, she was giving us the update on Love is Blind. I've got to know what's going down in the royal family. And Lindsay's the only person that can give me that information. So, Casey, take us through the ads.
Yeah, the Bengals report is brought to you by Encore Technologies. Encore Technologies provides IT solutions for a data-centered world with a suite of services from mobile computing to desktop to data center, supporting both centralized and work-from-home computing modules to improve efficiency and
productivity.
That's right, productivity. The path to innovation begins here. Visit encore.tech. Let me tell you about this lovely bottle of water right here. Pawnee Water, made right here in Hamilton, Ohio, uses natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing that other brands use. The result is a healthy alkaline water, and some say the best tasting water in the world. You can visit Pawnee Water at PAHHNI water.com, see where you can buy this great tasting water. And then let me tell you about Game Time, the ticketing app. The best app for your quick decisions to get Reds tickets, FC tickets, Bengals tickets, anything your little heart desires around the Cincinnati area. Use the Game Time app because guess what? I'm a last-minute shopper. I tend to just, wait
Procrastinator.
last second. I'm a procrastinator. And Game Time always was there for me. Has all the pricing up front. Lets you see exactly where you're wanting to sit. And, it was always right there when I need it.
That's right.
At Game Time. So download the app. Use code OTB to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code OTB to get $20 off your first purchase. Best tickets for the best price. use the Game Time app. Download today.
Yeah, the best thing about the Game Time app is it lets you see exactly where you're going to sit. Not all apps do that. I mean, they kind of give you like a little bit, but they let you know exactly where you're going to sit. It gives you upfront price, and it tells you exactly how much money you're going to spend, and it fluctuates, right? I mean, it's very active, and you can upgrade your seats in the app, all sorts of things. It's fantastic. Game Time.
And then lastly, we are supposed to pub our bracket for this year's March Madness tournament. I have it pinned at the top of the chat.
That's right.
If you
Join the
want to
bracket.
join in, the winner gets a free T-shirt and hoodie.
Ooh,
That's awesome. A free
T-shirt
and hoodie.
hoodie.
Last year, we actually had a pretty good amount of people participate in that, and I think we gave out a prize for that winner.
I think I came in last. Like,
You think you came in last?
Like, legitimately, I think I came in last.
I have no idea what
good
I
for
ended
Reader.
up doing, but I didn't do very well either, I don't think. So, I mean, we got to do better this year.
Yep.
I refuse to get fooled by Purdue. So, yeah, definitely join. And then I think whoever is the admin today, they put in the code for the Game Time thing. So, yeah, use that code, use that link, download the app today.
All right.
You want me to finish up with intro and headlines with the NFL?
Do
or
we
do
have?
you wanna-
Yeah. Well, let's before we get to there, because that's how we'll kind of bridge into the NFL talk. On this show, we break down what's really going on in the world, like what is getting what we are worried about, and I, for one, as you should be too, am worried about Kate Middleton. Lindsay, what in the world is going on in the royal family?
Have you guys seen anything about it?
I know that we think she's missing.
Yeah, because she hasn't been seen since Christmas because she had surgery, like abdominal surgery. But then people like made it into a joke where they looked up like how long does it take to recover from like a BBO.
Yeah.
What a BBO is.
No, but
It's like butt lift basically.
okay.
And so it was like a joke that she got that, and then it turned into so long. Now on Twitter they're like posting how she'll be seen on like Easter. That's when she'll
Casey, your
come
mic's
out.
on.
That's when she'll come out on Easter. But now people turned it from they think that her husband cheated on her just like Charles did to
Oh no!
Diana.
Oh no!
And she's like pregnant or something like that, and so she's like basically hiding and doesn't want to be in the light. But then they flipped it to like Charles is dead. But I just saw on Twitter a video of Charles outside his like Buckingham Palace. So
Here's the thing: if everyone's speculating that Kate Middleton is missing, that like we're worried about her well-being, why doesn't the royal family just like, hey, she's here, this is her, here she is? Like everyone's worried about her. Their whole thing is that they do public appearances. That's the whole point of being in the royal family. They don't have any power. They just show around. They're mascots for a country. And Kate Middleton, like people were like, is she dead? Like what is going on with Kate Middleton? And like they just literally won't show her.
yeah, and like they're like the surgery was so bad, but when she gave birth to her 3 kids, that day she was dressed up outside of the hospital posing with her kids. So she can go through the whole birthing process and stand out. So what could be that bad that there hasn't been one picture? But she did post a picture on Instagram, and she altered it herself because people were like, you took that picture from like a magazine picture of her and put that face on with her kids. And she came out and said she AI'd that. And I'm like, come on.
But the royal family put out a post about it. Like she said it, but you didn't see her actually say it.
It's just online.
Right.
So anyone could be using her account.
So this is big news for the people that think that the royal family are lizard people. I don't know if you know that conspiracy. This is big news for them. Their brains are swirling. Those tinfoil hats are going. But I'm worried about Kate Middleton, and you should be too. You should be. If you're not, you're a bad person.
I've seen one video on this, and they go into a deep explanation of how this was photoshopped, that this is a photo of her in a car, and then like the backgrounds are all different. Like there's so much inconsistencies with all these cover-ups. I don't know. There's some where there's smoke, there's usually fire. I'll say that.
Like I said, the whole point of the royal family is they are a mascot, right? They are Gapper. They are Mr. Red Leg. They are Houday. They are the Florence Y'all Water Tower. They are the mascot of the country. They don't have any power. They just keep it going, and they do public events. And if the entire country, if the entire world's like, hey, what's going on with Kate? Can we see Kate? And you're refusing to show, like literally, you could stop this tomorrow if you just show Kate. but they're not going to. They haven't yet. I don't get it. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but what's going on? I don't know. All right. That was our brief into pop culture. Thank you, Lindsay. That's why we have Lindsay on the show. She's fantastic. All right, Casey, what happened in the world of the National Football League?
Yeah, let's jump right into it. Justin Fields was traded for a conditional 6th-round pick that can turn into a 4th-round pick if he plays more than 51% of the games. I think that's the biggest headliner.
Right.
We finally have our answer to Justin Fields. Your thoughts, Reid?
Yes, because this is what people want. All right, here's about Justin Fields. As I mentioned on Thursday, I had Spurs sit in on Wednesday, and T just bodied me when it came to talking about Justin Fields. I brought a pool noodle to a gunfight when it came to that conversation. I lost that fair and square, but I'm not going to go down laying on my back. I'm not going to. So here's what I'll say about Justin Fields: is context matters, guys. Like, why are we acting like this is different than all the context around it? More often than not, when it comes to the world, more often than not, when it comes to sports, comes to your family, the way people think about you, the way people treat you is genuinely who you are as a person. And you might not like that. You might think that you are different than how people think. You might think that you are different than how you act. You might think you're different than the context surrounding you, but for the most part, you are. There's some certain extenuating circumstances that change that. But here's what we know about Justin Fields, is that he started for the Chicago Bears for now 3 years, and they weren't very good. Team wasn't very good. And now they get the first overall pick, and they get this generational talent, supposedly, in Caleb Williams. And everyone's like, this Justin Fields, all these fans are going, this guy's legit, when the entire NFL is treating him like a backup. They're treating him like a backup quarterback. And I know that Ian Rappaport came out and said that Justin Fields preferred to go to the Pittsburgh Steelers, which, to me, I mean, good for him for wanting to go to a successful franchise, but that's a franchise that really hasn't gotten the offensive side of the ball right in a long time. That's a franchise that just got a guy that's a Super Bowl winning quarterback that's been to 2 Super Bowls on the cheap that's going to play. In fact, after they traded for Justin Fields, the Steelers came out and said 2 things. This is the reports coming out of Pittsburgh since Justin Fields was announced to be traded, because everyone thinks there's going to be this competition. Everyone thinks there's going to be this QB battle. The team is telling you that Justin Fields will not compete for the spot. Things can change, right? I don't think Mike Tomlin is anti-competition. Doesn't seem like that kind of a guy. But the team is outwardly, they're making statements saying that Justin Fields isn't going to compete for the job. And then news comes out, once again, after they traded for Justin Fields, that they anticipate extending Russell Wilson. They are working towards that. He's playing for $1 million this year, and then the Pittsburgh Steelers will, according to this report, extend him. So the context around Justin Fields overwhelmingly is that he isn't some star, that he isn't Lamar Jackson, that he isn't a young Michael Vick. In fact, he's closer to a Sam Darnold. He's closer to a Josh Rosen, who was the franchise quarterback in Arizona. Then Kyler Murray comes along, and they get rid of him and ship him off for nothing. He's closer to that than he is Lamar. Context matters, people. I know that we watch him. I know that sometimes he does some things that no other quarterback in the NFL can do, right? Rushes for 1,000 yards. He's so athletic. But as I said, he's closer to a Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson's getting traded for a 6th-round pick. Mac Jones got traded for a 6th-round pick. These are people we laugh at. These are people we make fun of. And that's what Justin Fields is worth. Unless he plays half the games, then it's a 4th. And still then, we were just a month ago talking about, can they get a 1st-rounder? And then it was like, well, is a 2nd-rounder enough for him? and it turns out to be a 6th-round pick. And bravo to the Bears for presumably doing right by Justin Fields, taking him to the team that he wants to go to. But I don't get the disconnect between the context, how the NFL is treating him, how the teams, the coaches, the owners, the other players are treating him, and how the fans perceive him. And if I had to guess why it feels like the latter, it's 2 reasons. One is that we live in close proximity to Columbus. I get it. You all have an affinity for Justin Fields. Ohio State fans do. I understand it, right? We that's your favorite team, and now he's playing in the NFL. And he was kind of the poster child, because before C.J. Stroud broke into the league, the rumor was that Ohio State couldn't get the quarterback right in the NFL. I think that's tired. I think that's dumb. In all actuality, I think that's just trying to poke fun at Ohio State just from pure spite. But C.J. Stroud broke through that mold, and hopefully that's not the conversation anymore. But Justin Fields was the guy that you were holding on to, like this guy's going to prove that Ohio State quarterbacks can make it. You didn't need to prove it, but C.J. Stroud did just that. So there's the bias towards Justin Fields because Ohio State fans in this area. There's the bias towards Chicago Bears fans because they don't know what a good quarterback looks like. They've never had a quarterback pass for 4,000 yards. Not Jay Cutler, not Mitch Trubisky, and certainly not Justin Fields. That's not a very high bar to climb. It's a good season, a really good season when you climb 4,000. But in the history of your franchise, which, let me check, the oldest franchise in the sport, they've never had a guy throw over 4,000 yards. Their best quarterback in their franchise's history is Jay Cutler. McMahon, who was on the 85 team. I just think there's a large disconnect. That's all it is. And you guys think I kill him, which I do at times, Justin Fields. But I also have said I think that in the right circumstance, with the right team, he's a playoff quarterback. I think he is that talented. I'm just bringing in the context of everything around. When he's getting treated like Zach Wilson, when he's getting treated like Mac Jones, and not getting treated like Lamar Jackson, what are we missing here? What am I missing? Casey, your opinion on this whole thing?
I'm kind of with you on the idea that I'm not scared of Justin Fields. Man, the camera is frozen for a while. I'm not scared of Justin Fields more than I am Russell Wilson. And I don't know if I agree that it's because of Ohio State biasness. I just think that people see the talent there and think that it's undeniably like he is very talented, right? We can all see it. But there's another little key part to this whole thing, and that's consistency. And he's never been consistent in his entire career in the NFL. And whether you want to blame the Bears for that or not, I mean, that's up to your guys' opinions on that. Me personally, I know how bad that Bears franchise has stunk over the last 20 years. Since I've been a fan, when I first became a football fan.
I was a Jay Cutler fan, but yeah. I was a Jay Cutler believer, truther.
When I first became enamored with the sport was the first year. Was the year that Peyton Manning and the Chicago Bears faced off in
Rex
the Super Bowl.
Grossman.
That was the first game I ever watched. And you're telling me that they have not done anything near to that since? I mean, they're just as bad as the Browns, in all honesty. They're just as badly run. Now, they are turning things around, I think. I think they got a GM there that knows what he's doing. They got value for Justin Fields. But regardless, getting back to the Justin Fields thing, he's going to be playing behind Russell Wilson.
Yeah, they've come out and said he's not going to compete for this job.
Yeah, and so to me that screams that he's a backup, right? Because you don't trade for him, telling him that he's going to be a backup when you have to pay him next year. He's got nothing to prove if he can't play this year. You know what I mean? It's almost like he's being forced to be a backup.
So Ian Rappaport did come out and say that he chose to play in Pittsburgh. It's such a weird position, and everyone's hating on me, so I'll take a step back and I won't be as violent on it. But like I said, it's the way that the league is treating him is closer to the Josh Rosens, the Zach Wilsons, and I know he's better than that. I'm not saying that he's the same quarterback as that. I'm just saying that that's how the league is treating him. That's how he's being perceived by owners, GMs, and coaches. That he is a backup. That he's worth a 6th-round pick. I'm with you. That when this trade happened, I think it got more knee-jerk reaction out of Bengals fans. Being like, oh my God, this Steelers team, they're legit. And like, I'll get killed for this because it's fun to make fun of Russell Wilson because he seems like a very not genuine person. He seems to put on a facade more often than not. It's easy to hate on Russell Wilson, right? He's married to the pop star. He gets to Broncos, goes to Denver. He wants his own room, locker room, wants his own office, the whole 9 yards. So there's disconnect there, but like Russ intimidates me as a Bengals fan way more than Justin Fields does. If Justin Fields couldn't compete in the NFC North, a pretty bad division over his tenure, then I don't have a whole lot of confidence that he can compete in the AFC North, which is much more competitive. And I get it. Justin Fields, don't get me wrong, he is an upgrade from Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett. Now, I'd argue that's not a very high bar to clear, but that's an upgrade. I still think Russell Wilson's the much scarier quarterback because he's a veteran. He's won games in this league. I think if and there clearly is an ego with Russell, that took a big hit. And if there's any fight to Russ, it'll come back to kind of regain his kind of fight to want to play. But it doesn't even register to me. I don't know. I don't see Justin Fields running all over the AFC North for years to come. I don't. And in all actuality, I don't see him being on the Steelers longer than a year. If you want me to bunker in on any take that I've said here in the past 15 minutes that you guys are calling me the dumbest person ever for, which I love, it's that Justin Fields won't be a Steeler after next year because he's a free agent unless they franchise tag him after 1 year, right? He's got one more year under control.
Fields?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think this is his last year, and then that's the only reason why he's being traded right now. I don't know how 5th-year options work when you're traded before then.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that they can't do that.
Yeah, here's what's going to happen, and I can kind of see it, is if you made me guess, right? You made me put on my Nostradamus hat. Reid, how do you think Justin Fields, Russell Wilson era will shake out in Pittsburgh? My assumption is that Russell will start from the get-go. This team will be a competitive team. Their ceiling still isn't as high as other teams in the AFC, but they were a playoff team with Kenny Pickett, with Mason Rudolph. I anticipate they'll be a playoff team with Russell Wilson. And next year, we will start talking about, is there an opportunity for Justin Fields to start again? And I actually think this is a good situation for Justin, in that he gets to sit in a winning program or a winning franchise. He gets to sit behind a guy that not quite the same play style, but in his younger years was a little similar, moved around quite a bit. Obviously, Fields is much more mobile than even a young Russell Wilson was. But next year, we will be talking about, is there an opportunity for Justin Fields to go somewhere? What did Kenny Pickett get? What did Kenny Pickett return for a pick?
Kenny Pickett, I believe, was
a 4th.
A 4th?
Was it a 4th?
I'll double check. I don't know if it was a
Someone
4th,
look that up. The whole take that I have as I'm trying to add context to my context take is that just look at the way that they are treated. Look at the way that the league thinks of them. And you'll figure out the kind of player that you have. More often than not. It's not 100%. It doesn't bat 1,000. No one does. But you look at the league, and there's a small trade market. The team that drafted him is for sure going to go on with their number one pick, despite everyone going, if you trade away the number one pick, you can get just Oogle draft picks, and you can build up around Justin Fields. The Bears didn't want to do that. They get 6th round. What'd you get for
Kenny Pickett? I genuinely did not know this. This seems like a ton for Kenny Pickett. 3rd round pick, number 98, a top 100 pick, 2 7th round picks, and a 2024 4th round pick.
So here's
so hang on. So it's a 3rd round pick and a 4th round pick this year, 98 and 120, and then 2 7th rounders for next year. Oh no, I'm sorry. That's incorrect. 2024 3rd round pick, 2 7th rounders for Pickett and a 4th round pick. So they got back a 4th round pick for that.
So they move up around, and they get to. I don't know. The Justin Fields story is just yet to be told. And I'll ask this question about as someone who has staked his claim that Justin Fields, that I don't have a whole lot of faith. There's a lot of people telling me that he can be great. Is what will it take for you to change? Because this is something you should always ask when debating. If it feels like you got to a road that you're just arguing and you kind of lose what you're arguing, ask the question. Always ask this question. What would it take for me to change your mind? What are we arguing about? What would it take for me to change your mind? So I'll ask that question, and I'll tell you mine as someone who doesn't have a whole lot of faith in Justin Fields. If I see that Justin Fields, and remember, my opinion is that at some point he will take a team to the postseason. For me to change my mind on Justin Fields, I need to see him win a playoff game. Simple as that. That's all. And I will take back everything I've ever said about him. I will take back that, the league, even though I think it's objectively true, the league is treating him like a backup quarterback. I'll take back that I don't see it. I'll take back the take that, has there ever been a quarterback that has struggled or been mediocre for 3 years and hasn't overcome his own team and then flourished into an elite quarterback? Which there hasn't. Justin Fields could be the first if it happens. So I'll ask you guys the question. What would it take for me to change your mind that Justin Fields simply isn't very good? Because to this point in his career, he hasn't been very good. It's been okay. It's been fine. I don't know. Ask yourself that question. What would it take for you to give up on the Justin Fields bandwagon? Would it take him not being able to start for the next few years? Him not getting on the field? Would it take for him taking over a good team? A team that is thought of to be built for postseason success? Built to make a run at it? And it doesn't work well? I don't know. You got to ask yourself that question. And in a couple of years, we'll come back at this table all together. We'll shake hands. We'll look each other in the eye. We'll share a beer, and we'll have this conversation once again. It's all fun. It's all sports talk. It is truly unique, this whole situation, that it's every step along the way, it's felt like something new. Every step along the way. And it's so vitriolic because of, I think college fandom, as I mentioned, is a big part of it. A lot of people hold a lot of vitriol for Ohio State. And I think Ohio State fans are jaded because of that. Because people are jealous of Ohio State. That's where the shade comes from. Ohio State has so much success. We're tired of hearing, as a non-Ohio State fan, we're tired of hearing how great you guys are all the time. Because you guys are, more often than not, great. So we get to have our fun when the players get into the postseason or get into the NFL. That's where we try to poke our fun. We take what we can grasp. All right, Casey. I think we've done enough on Justin Fields.
All right, let's move on to the other topics that happened around the NFL then.
All right.
Keenan Allen traded for a 4th round pick to the Bears.
See, I will take this as we're just going to get right back in this. You said that it seems like they're doing the right things, the Bears. The Bears are a terribly ran franchise. I know you know this. I don't think they get enough flack as other teams. We make fun of the Browns. We make fun of the Commanders. But the Bears keep just head-scratching moves. They're very quick on the trigger on moves. What was it, Chase Claypool for a second?
Yep.
What? Now, the move they made this trade deadline worked out. But Keenan Allen, yeah, they get some veteran move for Caleb Williams they're going to draft. So
the way I look at it is DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, those two together seem very good together. I think they complement each other very well. And now Keenan Allen's older. But also, too, the Bears had a lot of cap space to spend, and it's not like you get stuck with him for a long period of time either. I think it's only like a year or two left on his deal. So I like the trade a lot. I think that can help out the Bears quite a bit. You get the back years of Keenan Allen for a 4th-round pick. I would do that in a heartbeat.
It's what are they going to do with that other top 10 pick? They going to get protection for Caleb Williams because they haven't had a good line, right? Or are they going to get weapons?
I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not entirely sure because I think they answered their tackle spot, one of their tackle spots last year. They've got a pretty decent interior offensive line, I think.
It was better. It was much improved this year, right?
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of tackle depth there. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they get someone there. Again, we've talked about the receiver depth there. They're probably going to either do receiver or offensive tackle. I don't see them going defense.
Oh,
But
no. They're gonna,
I don't know what offensive player they'd get though.
that if you have a top 10 pick and you're drafting a quarterback with the first, if you have 2 top 10 picks and one you're going to take a quarterback, you cannot, unless it's like a surefire edge, like unless you got like the 3rd pick. What was the one year that the Browns had the 1st and 4th, and they went Baker and Ward?
Yeah, something like that.
You got and even a cornerback at that time. I think if they could do that again, and Ward's been pretty good.
Yep.
But I think they would do that all over again. The Bengals. This is where the Bengals have kind of changed molds. We talk about other guys in the league and how you can. It's a copycat league, and teams are trying to copy the success of the successful teams. The Bengals, big waves. They draft Joe Burrow. He tears up his knee. The whole talk, the entire offseason, was Penei Sewell or Jamar Chase. I think all the old fogies, I think all the boring people wanted to take Penei Sewell, which in hindsight still probably would have worked. Because he's an all-pro caliber tackle, and boy, that'd be nice to have right now. But I was in the camp, hey, let's do something that no other teams are trying to do. Let's get Jamar Chase. And what happens the first year of Jamar Chase? They go to the Super Bowl, and now other teams are like, all right, if we're going to get a young quarterback, we got to do a couple things. And one of them is to load him up with as much talent as possible, to get him as many weapons as possible. The Bengals started that trend. And I think that's what, in a good wide receiver draft, I know they just got Keenan Allen. But, yeah, I think they do the same thing. I think the Bears are going to go with a wide receiver. Some people are saying Brock Bowers. I don't know. We'll see.
They've got a tight end, Cole Kmet. Unless they want to double.
But they got Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
Who else they got in that wide receiver room?
DJ Moore.
Okay.
Like they've got.
Okay,
they've
so
got,
they can go tackle. They got guys.
Yeah, like that's what's the beauty of this trade is that they don't have to be forced into a receiver now. And let's be real here, the receivers are projected to be top 7. They might not even the top 3 receivers might not even be there for the Bears. So this is a good move in my opinion. This makes it so then they're not pigeonholed to taking a playmaker there. They can go wherever.
Yep.
Next on my list, I have Aaron Donald retiring.
Oh yeah, so
that was big news.
Yeah, that is big news. What a just marvelous career by Aaron Donald. I've talked about that. I've been hosting this show now for 2 weeks, and I feel like I parrot the exact same conversations over and over again, much to your guys' displeasure. But the one thing that it's no secret to the game, but I think Aaron Donald revolutionized, which was teams are starting to realize how important pushing back the middle of the line is, not just the edge. It's not just about how quickly Can you get to the quarterback? It's about, can you completely push his vision back? Can you push the entire line back? And that's in part because of Aaron Donald, truly one of the greats. One of the greats. Some say the greatest defender of all time. I didn't watch the guys pre-2005. So I don't know. He's the best defensive player in my lifetime that I've seen. But obviously there's Lawrence Taylor's, there's other guys that I don't feel right making the opinion. That's how I do most takes, except for baseball. I get kind of in on baseball because there's statistics, and I know there's statistics to all sports. But if I didn't see him, I'm just not going to have an opinion. It's the whole thing about the Michael Jordan LeBron thing. I didn't see Michael Jordan play. I didn't see Lawrence Taylor play. Aaron Donald was incredible. It's crazy to think that there was someone that's thought of to be as good as Aaron Donald. But congratulations on a great career, Aaron Donald. Thank you for ruining my life in December or February of 2022.
That was miserable.
I put out a tweet. I put out a thing in the Discord. I said, Joe Burrow can rest easy. I'm sure he still has nightmares. Joe Burrow in his lavish mansion in Anderson wakes up in a cold sweat and looks in the corner and he thinks he sees Aaron Donald just waiting for him. So now he can rest easy because Aaron Donald's gone.
Yeah. Not only that, Jonah Williams, man, what a great break he just got after signing a deal with the Cardinals, and now he doesn't have to play Aaron Donald twice a year. Whew.
Right.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Good.
Jets. They signed Tyron Smith to a 1-year deal that can be worth up to $20 million if he hits some incentives and some bonuses. Good deal for them, I guess, for getting a guy that's always hurt and trying to secure their tackle spot.
How old is he too?
He's 31, I believe.
And I know linemen can play longer. There's really only two positions where you can play well into your 30s, and that's quarterback and tackle. But yeah, his best years are behind him. That deal didn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
I mean, the market is very bare. They had to do something, I guess. And spending that much money on him, I don't agree with it, but it's 33 years old, by the way. So whatever.
Wow.
They get a hopefully a difference maker there at the left tackle spot. Moving on to we already talked about the Kenny Pickett trade to the Eagles. Houston, they traded out of the first round with the Vikings. The Vikings are stocking up some draft picks here. Vikings traded away their second round pick number 42 and their sixth round pick number 118 or 188. And a second-round pick in the 2025 NFL draft for pick number 23.
So it looks like the Vikings, who have a lot of great weapons, they've got a great offensive mind as their head coach. It looks like they're gearing up to make a run at a quarterback. It looks like they're gearing up to trade for a quarterback. They signed Sam Darnold. We all know that Sam Darnold isn't the answer there in Minnesota. But my opinion is I like to look at the history, right? Call me crazy. Look at past things. Not that things can change. Not that you can make it right. But has offloading a bunch of picks to move up in the draft for not the number one guy, for not the number two guy, because it doesn't seem like they're going to get a first or second pick. They're going to be going for the Jaden Daniels. They're going to be going for the J.J. McCarthy's. They're going to be going for that guy when they're gearing up. Has that ever worked? Has that ever worked?
I don't know. I know that they're going to get a quarterback. There's been lots of rumors that they want Drake May because of the connections there that Josh McCown and I think it's the Vikings, but there is some connection there that wherever Josh McCown is, I believe it's with the Vikings and their coach McConnell. Mm-hmm. They have some connections with Drake May, and they really want him.
See, it makes I'm okay with them going for Drake May. I'm okay with them going for Drake May, but getting like the third, trading up multiple draft picks to get like the fourth quarterback on the board doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And I think some people are still wondering if Drake May is going to be the second quarterback taken. We'll see. But Here's the thing is we talk about when you get quarterback right and when you don't get it right, it either sets up your franchise for a long time or it puts you in poverty. Look at the New York Giants. They trade up to get Daniel Jones. That's their guy. And through varying success, up and down, a lot more down than up, they go, he's okay. We could do worse. And they sign him long term, and now their franchise is reeling. Because of one mistake, which was to make a move for a quarterback. The Bengals, and I'll get to my take on the Bengals here in a little bit with this offseason, and everyone's losing their minds, running around with chickens, their head cut off, is at the end of the day, number 9 hides a lot of deficiencies. Patrick Mahomes for the Kansas City Chiefs hides a lot of deficiencies. Josh Allen with the Buffalo Bills can hide a lot of deficiencies. When you get the quarterback right, and this is why people do it, this is why you trade multiple draft picks, because you're trying to get it right. It just seems like a gamble. It seems like a gamble that trading up to get the 4th quarterback taken overall, I don't know if I necessarily believe in that. Although as we mentioned before, where you land matters. I think Justin Fields was given a bad hand when it comes to where he's at with the Chicago Bears. I don't think he was put in a place to succeed. Bryce Young, Panthers, not given a whole lot of opportunity to succeed. Brock Purdy, Patrick Mahomes, they were given opportunities to succeed. The Vikings would be a great spot. In fact, if you are a rookie quarterback that you're not Caleb Williams because you're going to the Bears, you should be wanting to go to the Vikings. They've got JJ, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson. They've got a great mind as a head coach. That's a great spot for a rookie quarterback. But man, seems like a big gamble for the Vikings. But that's what it looks like. They're gearing up to make a run at the top picks.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just was looking at some mock drafts here. They have a theoretical trade with the Cardinals, which is pick number 4, and that's for them to get JJ. We'll see. They did just get Aaron Jones, right? So maybe they're gearing up to be more run heavy. So that would fit in with JJ, right? If you get into this heavy run scheme offense and then play action off of that for the rest of the lineup there.
Yeah, I'm in the public opinion. The public opinion is that this JJ hype train is folly. Everyone's like, we watched him play in college. We didn't see it. No dice there, brother. But these analysts who I often defer to, these guys that do this for a living, they look at how the guys do in combines, how they throw the ball, meeting with the guy, and they're oozing over JJ. So maybe there's something there. But I'm going to fall at the moment in the camp of public opinion that JJ McCarthy ain't it, brother.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't understand the hype around him, but hey, like you said already, I wasn't watching every snap, so is what it is. Moving on from that, there was no news, which is bad news for the Bengals. They let both T.R. Tart and Mekhi Becton walk out of the building without a contract.
Doesn't mean that they're not going to sign.
This week, which, yeah, you're right, 100%. But fans are getting restless because we're used to when a player comes down to Cincinnati and has a good old nice steak with Joe Burrow that they usually sign shortly after. That's not happened. So are we ready to hit panic button and pivot to a different situation? Or are we still going to sit here and twiddle our thumbs and hope for the best?
Casey, are we ready to hit the panic button? I don't know if you've been on X.com. I don't know if you've been on Twitter. But people are already hitting the panic button. I have never seen the court of public opinion in a fandom change as quickly as it did from Wednesday afternoon to Thursday evening. The Bengals get younger, more explosive, cheaper at running back. They get Mike Gesicki. the first tight end that you can get really excited about in this current angle of the current era of the Bengals. They get a guy that was second in the NFL in interceptions at safety for a steal of a deal, and they bring back a captain that had his best years in Cincinnati. Oh, and they get a guy that has a higher rate of getting to the quarterback from the interior line than they've ever had, and Sheldon Rankins. And what was everyone saying? You get on Twitter, oh my God, look at Duke cook. Let Duke cook. This team is all the way back. And then DJ Reader signs with the Detroit Lions. Oh my God, what are we doing? And I think that the big thing is the deal that DJ Reader got was much cheaper than we anticipated. But listen, I was raised Roman Catholic. And I don't know if you know anything about Roman Catholicism, but we're kind of blind. We just blindly follow in faith, right? Much to the chagrin. I am going to give some leeway to Duke Tobin. And even saying that, I don't understand what the big deal is. I get DJ Reader might have been the best defensive player the Bengals have had over the past few years. I get that he's one of the best run plugs in the league. And we don't have an option at this moment. There's still Tier Tart. There's still guys. But we don't have someone filling that hole now. But I'm not going to get worked up because a guy that has gotten into his 30s now, that is coming off a very bad injury, I'm not going to get worked up because he's not back. I don't get hung up on the guys of the past. I look to the future. And if we're going to do the context thing again, the rumor is the Bengals offer to DJ Reader was a slap in the face. That they didn't like it. That it was terrible. And then he goes to Detroit, and this is where context is. Another team, a very smart team. They don't give him a whole lot of money either. That makes you think that there's risk involved here, guys. It makes you think, and I know that's part of it, right? We could have got DJ Reader for a cheaper deal. But I'm not going to get worked up. I didn't get worked up last year. Everyone on this show, are the Bengals better today than they were in the AFC Championship game? And I kept saying, yeah. We didn't sign our backup running back. We didn't sign our tight end. We didn't sign a couple of safeties. And were they better? No. They still won 9 games despite not having a healthy quarterback for 13 of the 17 games. Despite playing one of the best schedules, hardest schedules in NFL history, they won 9 games. I'm not going to get worked up because we didn't bring back DJ Reader. I'm going to give a little faith. Now, if we start seeing more of these nose tackles pop off the free agent list, then cause for concern, sure. But let's just pump the brakes, guys. I've never seen public opinion change as quickly as it did from Wednesday to Thursday. Never, ever. From let Duke cook to this team doesn't know what the hell they're doing. It's groupthink is all it is. It's groupthink. And I refuse to fall into that camp. Because I know, and I'll let Casey, I'll let you talk here, because you're more pessimistic than I am. At the end of the day, we've still got that blonde boy. At the end of the day, we still got Zach Taylor. At the end of the day, we still got Jamar Chase. All the pieces, most of the pieces that were here, went to the Super Bowl and the AFC Championship, are still here. I'm not going to get worked up because we're letting a 30-year-old guy who's been a phenomenal player in his career in stripes, but he's coming off an injury. I'm not going to because I like unilaterally, I like every single move that they have made. I think that they've gotten much better at safety. I think that once again, we are pushing back the line on the interior. I think that we have given Joe Burrow a weapon in the red zone, a viable weapon. And on top of that, we are getting younger, less tread on the tires, and cheaper running back, which I've been preaching for years. So I'm not going to say this is just a disaster, a colossal disaster, because we didn't bring back the nose tackle. And I get the right tackle thing. I still think that the move is to draft a guy in the first round. I think that's the move. Even though, I get it, I'm a big track record person. And the Bengals' track record of drafting tackles, not good. It's not good, bro. But just calm down. I promise. Sing a little Kumbaya, crisscross applesauce. We'll hold hands together, and it'll be okay. Casey, push back on everything you want to push back on.
Well, I'm not going to sit here and act like it's all, sunshine and rainbows out here, because you act like there's lots of nose tackles out there. There's one, and it's Tier Tart. And they just let him walk out the building. Now, I'm not going to say it's all doom and gloom, because that could easily just suggest a change in the way that we do things, in the scheme-wise. We can have 5 guys up front and run more of what Pittsburgh likes to run with 5 guys. Now we have a whole different set of players, and that would probably change a lot of what we'd like to do. Right. But you got to do what you got to do. If you don't have the personnel to do what you want, you got to make a change-up. And I'm sure Lou could do that. But if you want to keep things the way that they are, you would want to find a nose tackle to be able to deploy that sort of scheme. So that's where I have my first hesitation about this offseason plan. The second thing is, I agree with the moves that we've made to improve the team, but you could argue a lot of those moves are at positions that we don't value very much, like safety, like running back, like tight end. The only move that's really made an impact on this team is the defensive tackle spot. And we traded for a player that has been so critical to how we do things on defense, that when he's not in the lineup, we're one of the worst defenses in the league. That's what we're going up against. And I know last year, the safety positions were crucial, and that's probably why we sucked a lot on defense last year, is because our safeties were giving up big plays after big plays. Secondary was horrendous. Von Bell coming in, huge factor in that department. But the fact that we're sitting here 7 days into free agency with only one true nose tackle left available in free agency, and he is not signed with the Cincinnati Bengals, tells me 2 things. One, they're playing a very dangerous game. 2, they gave him an offer that
he could refuse.
Which to me is like, what are we doing? Give him an offer that he won't refuse, because you don't want to take the risk of what's out there, what could happen, right? My opinion on that.
Sure.
You might think otherwise, but there is not a defensive tackle out there that you're going to feel comfortable at the nose tackle spot, that you're going to feel comfortable, that you're not going to have to spend a pick otherwise in the draft, which Tier Tart allows you to not have to spend a pick on T'Vondre Sweat.
Yeah.
And that's basically my argument here is, if you don't get a guy now, if you don't get Tier Tart now, and you just pick any old random guy like Calais Campbell at 38, you're going to force yourself to spend your second-round pick on T'Vondre Sweat, or run the risk of not running a nose tackle, which to me I think it's not a good plan. It's not a good plan that the Bengals have deployed so far. Just give Tier Tart the offer that he needs to sign here. You can figure out the right tackle spot, because there's going to be plenty of guys in the draft. I think you could give Trent Brown an offer too. Like that's the other pivot move that I've seen plenty of people talk about, which I'd be okay with. But then you have to pick T'Vondre Sweat. Otherwise, you're not getting a nose tackle in the draft. There's just not a guy. I've heard McKinley Johnson or something like that from Texas A&M. I don't want that guy. I'm going to talk about RAS scores here for a second. He had a terrible RAS score.
I don't care about no damn RAS score.
For his size and weight. Unlike T'Vondre Sweat, who didn't actually test very well, but he's massive dude, and the
Yeah.
test is not fair to guys like him. So all I'm saying is I don't particularly like the position that they're in at this very moment. I'm not going to say it's disastrous, but they're playing a very dangerous game. T.R. Tart signs another team. They're in a really bad spot.
Yeah. I get it. It felt like it wasn't caution though when I was reading on Twitter, which was what I got. It was straight up panic. And I'm not panicking. I'm not going to do that. You didn't realize this, Casey, but you essentially called me a hypocrite, which I loved. Because while I'm ranting and raving about getting safety, tight end, running back, those are the positions I always, crap on. And Casey's like, that's positions we don't value very much on this show. And he's right. He's absolutely right. We don't. But I think they improved at all three of those positions, so I'll give the optimistic. See, I'm just an optimistic guy. That's what you get from me. The thing that you bring up that is it is a fantastic point, which is where they're at. I said when they got Sheldon Rankins that if they get a tackle and a nose tackle, a right tackle and a nose tackle also in free agency, you then go into the draft with a luxury of you can just take the best player available. You don't need to fill holes. And that's a luxury. It truly is. It's where the Bengals were at a couple years ago. Where people were like, just last year, the year before that, when we got Dax Hill and Miles Murphy, they're like, where are we going to go? I don't know. Now there's pretty evident holes on the starting 22 that you've got to shore up. Would I love the Bengals to get T.R. Tart? Yes. Can we agree that if we get T.R. Tart, we go back to the positive side of fandom?
Yeah, well, here's the thing.
It felt
Here's
like
the
to
thing,
me.
too.
It felt like to me. I saw the smart guys, and these guys are very intelligent. The Joe Goodburys of the world and stuff like that, saying even if they get T.R. Tart, the defense has regressed. And I'm like, well, the defense is 31st in the league last year. I have a hard time believing it regressed, but it's neither here nor there. They got more pass rush. They got better They got better at safety. As long as the linebackers play a little bit better, it's going to be okay. But that's neither here nor there. If we get T.R. Tart, are we okay? Are you back on the positive side of this offseason?
It doesn't even need to just be T.R. Tart. If we got like an answer either at right tackle or nose tackle, because then your path is you can focus in on a path that makes sense, right? You can go get Josh Tupou if you don't get T.R. Tart and go draft a guy in the draft, right? You can go get Tavondre Sweat, and you feel okay spending your second round pick doing so. And I don't want the Bengals to be forced to take a right tackle and then subsequently right after that a nose tackle in the second round of the draft, or vice versa. Defensive tackle, nose tackle in the first round, then right tackle the second round. I don't want them to be forced to take positions just because they need them. I need this team to be as well-rounded as possible before going into the draft, because that's how you get guys that can help you out. And you
BPAs,
not force, you can take BPA. So that's where I'm at. T.R. Tart is the only nose tackle available. That's why I'm clamoring for T.R. Tart. Plus, he's probably cheaper than the other guy I'm going to talk about, which is Trent Brown. And I wouldn't mind Trent Brown. He's only going to be here for maybe like 2 years based on how Bengals do deals. But I think he would be a solid right tackle answer for the time being. He's played multiple positions on the offensive line, so it gives you that versatility. Big dude, bigger than Orlando Brown Jr., so we would have the two biggest tackles in the NFL, which I think pass blocking wise, that's a plus, right? But yeah, I mean, those are my answers. It was the T.R. Tart, Mekhi Becton combo, or Trent Brown. Go re-sign Josh Tupou, a guy that you've had on your team for a while. Those are my two scenarios that I feel like would be preferable. My good job, Bengals. We can go into the draft feeling comfortable. Right now, I'm not feeling comfortable about the draft with the way things stand. And I know they're going to probably spend on some free agents. They have to. I mean, they have 20-something plus million in cap space. But if they don't answer and address their holes, I'm not feeling good. Not feeling good.
I get it. I just, man, let's let the dust settle. Let's let it clear. I'm asking you guys to have a little bit of faith. Is all I'm doing. We see this within the Reds fandom. Give Nick Krall has earned respect. He has earned faith. And I'm asking for a little bit of faith, not hope, from Duke Tobin, for Duke Tobin. Because you look at what this front office has done, just start dissecting the moves over the last 5 years. There's a lot more success than whiffs. A lot more. Trey Hendrickson, everyone laughed at us. We gave him a big contract. Oh, he only was good because Cam Jordan was on it. And then Trey Hendrickson's been phenomenal. Trey Waynes was a miss. The right tackles that we've had have been okay. Riley Reef, Lyle Collins. Jonah Williams was okay this year. Good year this year. Orlando Brown came into the Orlando Brown that we thought we were getting in the second half of the season. Awuzie, Von Bell, Mike Hilton. Almost every move they made at tight end has worked. And we're going to see with Zach Moss at running back. I think the interior of the line's probably, it's not in the upper echelon, but it's okay. It's good. We want it to be better. That's what the great teams have, is a great O-line. We have a good, okay line. And then you look at the drafts. Everyone wants to talk about the ones we missed. Jackson Carman, was that a swing and a miss? Was that an Adam Dunn swing and a miss? But Jamar Chase looked pretty good. Pretty good move. All the linebackers we took in 2020. Remember that draft? First 3 picks. Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Logan Wilson. Okay. So I think they've drafted well in the second round. Jordan Battle, Cam Taylor-Britt. We're going to see with Dax Hill and Miles Murphy. We will. It's make or break time for Dax Hill, and I have faith in Miles Murphy. You should too. I'll hit that one on the. I'll hit that nail on the head. Just to have some faith, guys. We'll hit the panic button when we're in the room that needs to be hit. Because despite all this moves, it makes for great talk radio as I finish up my final 15 minutes hosting this show for the past 2 weeks. It makes for great radio. We talked a lot about the Bengals almost the entire time because there's been a lot of news to talk about. Xavier hasn't done a whole lot. UC hasn't done a whole lot. There has been some Reds news, and we've broke it up. Talked with Kirby earlier in the show. Thank you for coming on. But we talked a lot of Bengals. And out of everything that the Bengals can do this offseason, signing tight ends, signing interior defensive linemen, signing a tackle, signing safeties, getting a veteran in the cornerback room, getting a new running back. What are they going to do with T. Higgins? How are they going to approach the draft? What about an extension for Jamar? All of that is all well and good, but we still know, and a wise philosophical man once said this. His name was Sir Boy Wonder 513. He said, at the end of the day, the thing that's most important is that our quarterback is healthy. And that's the number one task. Now we're sitting on our hands now because all we can do is hope that he gets better, hope that he shows up to OTAs, hope that he plays a full training camp, preseason, completely healthy, no hiccups, nothing weird's happening. We've been asking for that. But 2 years ago, Joe Burrow said, the window for a Super Bowl is my career. And when it gets down to it, do you believe that or not? I believe it. Am I doing a little preaching up on a soapbox? Do I feel like a tent revival right now? You gotta have faith in the Lord. Yes. But that guy has done things I've never seen before with my team. And that's why I put my faith in him. I'm a positive fan. You can fan however you want. I'm not going to try and tell you how to fan. Because who am I? I like being on the positive side. The people that are on the negative side, they put themselves in a camp that they can't miss on, right? I don't know if he's going to pan out. I don't know if that's going to work. And if it does, oh, great. Oh, this team sucks. They're doing everything wrong. And if it works out, oh, great. My team's good. I'll put myself in the camp that, hey, I'll be excited for these guys. I'll be optimistic. And when the time comes to where you're not optimistic, where things do look bleak, where the team's not playing well, when the team's on the outside looking in of the postseason with a healthy Joe Burrow all year, then, and only then, will I start saying, I don't know, man. It's kind of shaking the rock, the foundation of my fandom. I don't know. Casey, any other points?
No other points that I hadn't already mentioned. I will say that, just to clarify where I'm at, I am very, very positive on the guys that we've brought in so far, and I'm with you on that. They've all improved in different areas on the team. I don't think they've made a move where it necessarily got worse, except for DJ Reader. But again, like I said, it's just one simple move, and we're in a good spot going into the draft, and that's all that really matters. It's just, when are they going to make that move? I feel like the more time that the more time that goes by, the more opportunities they're going to find to get different deals done with different teams. I don't know if Mekhi Becton is really that big of a loss, but the Teair Tart one to me is more important than the right tackle at this moment, just because I don't think they're in the Trent Brown market. I could be wrong on that, but I think he's going to command more money than they're willing to give. And then I feel like Mekhi was already a 1 year, $5 to $6 million on the table that they were willing to give, and you can just go find another guy that is going to be a swing tackle more than likely. So, yeah, I mean, those are my thoughts, my closing thoughts on that.
Yeah. If you want me to map out, I mapped this out last week. Get Teair Tart. Get a tackle, and then draft a tackle. Do that. In that order. You're going to need a veteran in the cornerback room. How much money do we have to work with? Do you know that number off the top of your head?
It's like $23 million, I think. 22,
okay, so you
23.
can still make some big moves.
Yeah. It's technically like 30 something, but you got to factor in the draft picks and whatnot into that number. I'm spitballing
here. Say that we don't use a bunch of that money, right? We spend to where we have $13 million left. Can you anticipate that they will make moves on a Jamar Chase extension to try to get some of that money in front of it? So you know what I'm saying? If they have the free money, use it.
I think that's a smart move. Okay. I talked to Tom about this on Friday about if they don't make any other moves, could we still possibly see a T. Higgins deal done? Because you could theoretically put a lot of that extra money into this year, have him guaranteed the $30+ million this year, and maybe have 25 next year, and you might get a deal done. Right. I mean, I probably wouldn't be in that camp, but extension for Jamar Chase, I think, is also on the table. I mean, I'm sure that they're more focused on trying to get T figured out, and maybe others, but it's not a 0% chance. I would like to see him try to get a deal done with Chase, just so
if you have the money, right?
Yeah.
If you have the money, then you absolutely do that. In the final 10 minutes, here's what we're gonna do. I sent Casey a couple of DMs. Casey, can you go ahead and get that quarterback DM that I sent you ready? I want to talk about it. It came from Ari Murad. Is that guy real?
No, he's not real.
Okay, I didn't think he was
not real.
I didn't, but he still brings up a tweet about. It's just a tweet about the 2021 and 2022 quarterbacks. And when we look back a decade from now at these quarterbacks, first off, I want to talk. I don't think enough love has been given to 2020's draft class when it came to the quarterback position. Listen to these quarterbacks taking off in the COVID year draft. Joe Burrow 1, Tua 5, Justin Herbert 6, hit. Jordan Love 26. Everyone laughed at that. That looks to be good. And then Jalen Hurts in the second round. We might never see a draft like that again. That's 5 quarterbacks that are going to have pretty good careers in the league. And we can say what you want about Tua. I know there's people are out on him. He's still been a pretty good quarterback. Say what you want about Justin Herbert, never getting it done in L.A. to this young part of his career. He's still pretty good. But look at these quarterbacks taken in the 2021-2022 draft. Kenny Pickett, first guy taken, traded. Desmond Ridder, traded. Malik Willis, he's a backup. Matt Corral isn't even in the NFL anymore. Bailey Zappi, done. Sam Howell, traded. Go to 2021. Trevor Lawrence is the only guy still there, right? And then the rest of it, Zach Wilson's going to be traded to the 49ers, more than likely, for a 6th rounder. Trey Lance, gone. He actually got traded for a 4th. Justin Fields, Mac Jones, 6th-round draft picks. Man, oh, man. When I know I'm the pro Trevor Lawrence guy on the show, and you guys are right about to this point in his career, I think it's fair to say it's been a disappointment. If you're asking me who do I think will be more successful over the next 5 years, it's pretty easy who I think it is. Trevor Lawrence over Fields. We'll see. You guys, you know what? I'll let you hit me upside the head if I'm wrong in 5 years. But besides the point, the fact that Trevor Lawrence is the shining star of that 2 years of draft class has to make you worried if you're looking for a quarterback. And I know once again this is a good quarterback draft class. I think Caleb Williams is the only for sure guy that I have faith will be a very good quarterback in the league. Be a good, productive quarterback in the league. The only guy. There might be another one. There might be another guy that kind of shines through. Drake May, Jaden Daniels, all the names, you know. But there's only one guy that I feel confident enough putting my flag in the ground and saying this guy will be a pretty good quarterback. It's been tough sledding if you've been wanting to get a quarterback the last few drafts. I think Brock Purdy was taken in 2022 too.
22, yeah.
He's was Mr. Irrelevant, but he's the last guy, last man standing from that draft class.
Yeah,
Crazy.
I would say the most successful.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. It's not a top 15 quarterback in the league. I'm not giving it. Not doing it.
Okay.
I'll be wrong in the future. I like being wrong. People like to tell me how stupid I am. Michael Ackley says no T-Law slander. What am I reading about the Skyline stuff? Did we already go over that? That they're off of
kind of
Pepsi?
went over it, but they are now on they're with Coke, right? Coca-Cola. So
They should get like the Heritage Bank Center and get Diet Right and RC Cola, Royal Crown Cola.
I'm just upset that I will no longer be able to have pink lemonade. That was my go-to item at Skyline. Go-to drink. And my second would be Mountain Dew. And now I can't have either. So I'm just in a tough spot. I don't know what is Coke. It's obviously Coca-Cola,
Sprite.
Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper
Dr.
works
Pepper.
both.
Yeah.
They work both sides of the fence. So shout out to the Dr. Pepper fans. If they still serve Mellow Yellow, they'd have Mellow Yellow. Their root beer is Barks. Mug is Pepsi. Yeah. They got Coke has the better. Cola, they have the better lemon lime soda and Sprite. But in there. You know what's interesting about pop? Is I don't know if you guys have noticed this when you go to a gas station. There's 2 brands that require their own section of a mini mart, their own section of a gas station. If you ever go there, go look at the array of pop, drinks, Gatorade, all that stuff. Mountain Dew has its own fridge. That's how much Mountain Dew they're selling. Coca-Cola has 2 racks of Coke.
Coca-Cola is also with Gold Star. That's what they're talking about.
Baby.
Both of them turned their backs. This is horrible news.
What kind of hardball is Pepsi playing?
Well, what is that?
What the hell? Crazy.
I was just talking my ish about how Gold Star's better because I have Pepsi products. I can go get my pink lemonades at Gold Star. Now I can't even do that. What is Pepsi on? What are they doing?
How are they playing that much hardball? Did you see? I don't know if you guys have seen this. I think this is true. I haven't looked this up, but you know how Pepsi rebranded their lemon lime soda to Starry.
Yeah.
Used to be Sierra Mist. I think that they did that because there's a TikToker that has had the handle like Sierra Mist. And they've like tried to get her to change her name like multiple times, try to buy the handle from her. At least this is what she says on TikTok. She's got a pretty big following. But yeah, she's like been threatened to be sued and stuff like that. And they changed the story. Yeah, it's not very good anyways. But shout out to Pet. Man, why are they playing such hardball? God, that's crazy. That's crazy. All right, so here's what's going on. Tomorrow, Trace and Elliot will be back. Trace will be back in this chair. Elliot will be back over there. My call up to the show is I'm going to be sent back down to Louisville. My time is up. Listen, we all get our 15 minutes of fame. Mine lasted 2 weeks. I've had a blast doing this. I know you guys disagree with most things I say. We talked a lot of NFL. We were lucky enough to get NFL. The ratings shot through the roof. All of our YouTube videos have been better than they've been. So me and Casey were told when they went on their trip 2 weeks ago, we were told just to keep the ship afloat. And I think we did much better than that. I think we didn't just keep it afloat. We didn't just tread water. I think we sailed across the Atlantic. And it's been a lot of fun. I've had a lot of fun doing this. I'm sure I'll do it sometime in the future. Trace is still going to be the host of Chatterbox Red, so I'm sure when they play a game out in San Francisco and he's got to do the show till 2 a.m, I'm gonna get a text and go like, "Hey, can you do the show?" So this won't be my last time hosting, but it will be for the interim. So guys, Casey, we don't have a cherry on top or anything like that, other than the fact that both Skyline and Gold Star turned their back on us
Again.
Yeah. But hopefully the Justin Fields stuff didn't deter my 2 weeks hosting, because you guys have been very nice to me. You guys have been very nice to me over the time. Josh Harrison has chosen free agency, so he's not going to be on the team. I think that was a move that a lot of people liked. If Josh Harrison was going to be the 26th guy, that wasn't good. You had to go with someone else. I'm a forward guy. I'm a Mike Ford guy. Hopefully he makes the team. I don't know if he's still even up for running. I haven't been paying too closely attention to spring training. We got what, 2 weeks? I think it's 2 weeks, about 17 days, 12 days, something like that, till opening day. So we'll look forward to that. But we're not going to have anything after this unless you plan for no, we're not going to have anything after this. We're sorry for the members. We're kind of catching our breath here. We've got a lot of moving parts, got a lot of things. We have a call later on in the afternoon that we have to get ready for. We've got a lot of Miami games this week, midweek stuff, so we've got to get our ducks in a row. But this is us sign off. This is me signing off for the final time on this last 2 weeks. Thank you so much for all the nice words you guys have said to me. Thank you for Mr. Mo for calling me a moron repeated times. Thank you for Mouse Cop for telling me that I hate everything about Cincinnati. Thank you all. Seriously. Molly, she called in last week with the call-ins. All the nice words you guys have said. It really does mean a lot. Keep watching the show. Keep watching. Keep liking the stream. Keep commenting on all the videos that we put out. I'll see you around. I'll still be on Box Lunch for the members going forward, but there won't be Box Lunch today. Trace Fowler, Elliot Rearing will be back tomorrow. They'll tell you all about their trip. We heard from the Kirby earlier today. They'll tell you about how the Grand Canyon, how Vegas was, how Arizona, Denver, all the stops they had along the way. But this does it for me hosting this show. So, guys, thank you so much. I'll see you around. See you guys.